So when you do these types of ferments, just like all the rest, at home, handmade by you, it takes it up a notch. And of course, I love going into stores these days, seeing the whole craft beer movement taken off and seeing all the different variations and local breweries and that kind of thing. That's great. But to be able to do it yourself, just like every other recipe, making your own chocolate, making your own sauerkraut, nothing compares. And there's so much more freedom, empowerment, cost savings, you name it, through and through, that you can really, really get the benefit of this. And this kind of saying holds less true now, but is still holds a lot of truth when I say that, going into the average liquor store and choosing from, especially a lot of the big brands, it's like going into a convenience store and choosing from the food section that the convenience store has, right? It's industrially produced, mass produced, and it's a far cry from the real, authentic, original, homemade, handmade versions that you can create at home. And one of my favorite books by my absolute favorite author, Stephen Hared Buhner, I call him my herbal hero. He's responsible, actually. I would credit him more than any single other person on the planet today for the rise in craft beer and that whole movement and the creativity that has come out, that you see things like spruce tip beer and heather ales and all these different variations came from him writing this book. And I've gotten a ton of inspiration from this book. And what's so neat about this is that it actually reads as much a herbal textbook as it does the history of fermentation as it relates to alcoholic beverages. And he's using that term beers. So the title of it is called Sacred and Herbal Healing Beers. Stephen Hared Buhner, beers as a generic term for any sort of fermented beverage with any level of alcohol, all the way from 0.5 to 1 to 5 to 7 to 8 to 12 to 14% and beyond. Now, of course, natural fermentation, the limit we can get to is 19, 18, 19, 20% at the absolute most. And it has been proven that almost all cultures all around the world throughout time fermented their own alcoholic beverages. Distilling came later to create spirits, and that's something different, but we're going to talk about the benefits of alcohol. We're going to talk about, of course, how to create it and then bring this sacred, herbal, and healing element back into this tradition. Now, of course, the caveat always is, if someone has a history of alcoholism, and this may be not something to get involved in, but in the right context, in moderation, it's an absolute wonderful addition to create it yourself, and it can be a part of your herbal protocol. There's that saying, you go to the ale house for what ails you. It has been a part of herbal traditions. Alcohol does play a role and has beneficial effects by itself. Of course, all in moderation, even moderation. And what is moderation anyways, right? That's going to be different individual for everyone. But, there are plenty of studies that say moderate drinkers live longer than non-drinkers or excessive drinkers. Alcohol moderately can be a tonic for the brain. It can be a tonic for the liver, and it can be a delivery system for these herbs. But of course, if we get into excess, or if we get into, I would say, industrial, mass-produced types of alcohols, then we can start to run into troubles. So